Hi, you guys. Welcome back to Elicit Folio, where we take simple ingredients and we turn them into something special. Today, I'm going to show you guys how I make my ham and potato soup, but with a southern twist. So instead of the traditional chicken broth that most people use for this recipe, we're going to build our broth using some pork neck bones, which has a richer flavor, and even better if you have a ham bone handy. So here's what you're going to need for the recipe. First off, you need potatoes, and then you're gonna need some pork neck bones, some diced ham. You can even use leftover ham here, some milk, salt and pepper, onions, flour, half a stick of butter for your soup, and then we're gonna use the other half of butter for our bechamel sauce or the thickener that we'll use later. So basically 1 stick of butter, some minced garlic, water, and some celery. If you want to garnish this soup like a loaded baked potato, then I recommend using some cheese, some bacon, and having some green onions handy, or even some chives. So to start, you're gonna build your soup base by adding half a stick of butter to a Dutch oven or a pot, which is around 4 tablespoons. Allow your butter to melt and then add in 1 stalk of celery that's diced up. Allow this to cook until the celery softens slightly, and then add in your diced onions. Your onions will need to cook until they have softened as well. Once the onions have cooked and are sort of translucent and soft, I recommend then adding your garlic so the garlic doesn't burn. And you're gonna cook your garlic until it's fragrant. Now that we have built like our vegetable base, let's start building the broth by adding some water, 3 pork neck bones, and some diced ham. If you can't find any smoked neck bones, you can use a ham bone, or you can use some ham hocks here. Any kind of smoked pork works really, really good in this recipe. Then the best way to build that broth is by allowing these to sort of like melt together into boil. This is honestly the only way to do it and how I cook most of my southern dishes. So I typically, when I'm making like collard greens or black eyed peas or pinto beans, I always start with some sort of smoked meat. So you're gonna cover these ingredients and allow them to simmer on low to medium heat for about 30 minutes. After 30 minutes, we're ready to add in our diced potatoes, and you can add these to your soup pot where you just made your brand new pork broth, and allow these potatoes to cook until they're fork tender. While your potatoes are cooking, we're gonna make a bechamel sauce, which is simply just a French cooking term that means that we're gonna use some butter, some flour, and some milk to create a thickener. Over medium heat, take a saucepan and melt half a stick of butter, which should be around 4 tablespoons. Once melted, we're slowly going to whisk in our flour, and then lastly, we're going to whisk in some warm milk. You're going to continue to whisk these 3 ingredients together until they become smooth and creamy and thick. The fact that it doesn't separate lets us know that it's thick. All right, let's check our potatoes. This smells amazing. Let's see if they're fork tender. Yep, they are. So we're gonna pour our slurry into this, but before we do, let's remove our neck bones. They have served us well and gave us a really awesome pork broth for the potato soup. Set that to the side. We're gonna turn our heat down just a little bit, and then slowly sort of pour in our slurry. And this will thicken the soup to a beautiful velvety texture. The velvety texture that we want. I'm gonna get all that thick flour butter goodness and scrape it into our soup. When I make these slurries, I typically, as a rule of thumb, thicken these until I feel like whatever texture I want my soup to be, that's the texture that I cook the slurry to. And as you can already see, it's making a very beautiful, nice, thick and creamy potato soup. Next, I'm gonna add some pepper. I like it to have a little spice. If you really, really like spice, you can also add cayenne pepper here. Let me get a clean spoon. And give this a taste to figure out how much salt we need. That's really good, and I haven't even added the salt. So we'll add a little bit of salt. I added about half a teaspoon just now. We'll let it cook some more and thicken, and then we'll taste again to see if we need more salt. But this already looks amazing. I want it to thicken a little bit more. I know you guys were like, she didn't use onion powder, she didn't use garlic powder. Trust me, you won't need it for this recipe because you're using those like pork neck bones at the beginning and they bring so much flavor. So you don't need to add in a bunch of extra seasonings. Trust me, it will come out on its own. Continue to stir and allow your soup to simmer on low heat until the desired thickness is achieved. And then from there, we can ladle some of our soup into a soup bowl, garnish, and let's walk over and do a taste test. All right, you guys, here's the finished product. This is so savory. It smells like my entire kitchen smells amazing. And let's give it a taste. Oh my God, this is so good. I wish you guys were in my living room right now so you can have some of this. You can definitely tell the difference when you just like use chicken broth versus building on the actual pork flavor of the ham. And so the next time you make your potato soup, follow my recipe at elicitfolio.com. Definitely use smoked pork neck bones. And if you have a leftover ham from dinner, this is perfect. If not, you can also look for smoked ham in the grocery store. So the smoked pork neck bones on top of the actual smoked ham. This right here hits so good. And if you want extra spice, you can add some cayenne pepper instead of the black pepper that I used today in the recipe. But this is so cozy, so savory, so good. Thank you guys for spending a cozy, I can't even talk, it's so good. Thank you guys so much for spending a cozy afternoon with me, and I'll see you next time for the next soup recipe. And don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel so you can see when I start cooking next. Thank you guys. I need to go clean my kitchen, but this is so freaking good. Yeah, it's almost done. Like, look at that. My plate is like halfway gone. I am not cleaning or washing one dish until I finish this bowl of soup. Oh my God. This is next level. It's probably one of the best potato soups I've ever had. And I'm not just saying that because I made it. Oh my God.